As a home cook, I thought sushi was something only professional chefs can make, but it's actually easier and safer than you think. We're gonna make a beautiful salmon and tuna nigiri, as well as a less technical, super easy tuna poke bowl. And if you're scared about raw fish, well, don't worry, I'll walk you through everything you need to know, including the most important factor to safely eat it. And I'll be debunking one common marketing myth that you've probably fallen for. First thing we're making is a whole bunch of salmon and tuna nigiri, but first we have to prep our fish. I have here a 1 pound piece of farm-raised salmon, and we need to remove the skin off of it, so I'm gonna cut in between the skin and the fish. It's kind of tricky, but once you get a little bit in there and you're able to grab onto the skin, you can then put your knife at a 45-degree angle and just kind of run through that whole piece of skin, and it comes right off. Alternatively, you could have your butcher remove the skin for you, but you'd be robbing yourself of the satisfaction of being surprised at how well you did. Ooh, that's pretty good, dude. There's such little meat left on there. Wow. Now I'm gonna trim some of the excess fat that's still on the salmon, and now we have a perfect salmon fillet, and we're also gonna grab our tuna fillet. I have a 1 pound piece of tuna, and to improve the flavor of both the tuna and the salmon, I'm gonna move them on over to a wire rack and sprinkle on an even mixture of salt and sugar, which to make, I did 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, give it a quick mixing, and now this is your mixture. You're gonna wanna sprinkle this on all sides of both the salmon and the tuna. This is basically a light curing we're doing, which will help improve the flavor and the texture of the fish. And if it is a little fishy, it will remove some of that fishy smell from it. Now we're gonna throw both of our fish in the fridge to cure for just 30 minutes, which will give us plenty of time to make our delicious sushi rice. Now in a rice cooker, we're gonna throw in 2 cups of dry sushi rice, and then we're gonna head on over to the sink and turn on our water and wash our rice. This is incredibly important, especially when making your sushi. Just agitate the water with the rice, pour out the excess, and then wash it 2 more times, and that's it. Now we're gonna pour 2 cups of water with our rice, throw it into the rice cooker, and make sure to dance when you hear the jingle. Now in the remaining time, we're gonna make our Sushi-Zu, which is the seasoning for our rice. So that's really the most important part. In a measuring cup, we're gonna pour in 1 cup of rice vinegar, followed by 1 tablespoon of salt and 3 tablespoons of sugar. I'm gonna now pour this mixture into a small saucepan, and yes, we should just pour all the ingredients into the saucepan directly. Don't ask me about my logic, because I don't know. On top of that, I'm also gonna toss in about a 1-inch piece of kombu. This is optional, but it'll just add an extra layer of depth of flavor. Now you're gonna bring this pot up to heat, and you don't wanna let it reach a boil. You instead want to let it hit a simmer. So I'm gonna keep mixing it, and then once all the sugar and salt has been dissolved, I'm gonna then cut the heat and let it simmer for 10 minutes. At the end of the 10 minutes, we're gonna pour it into a measuring cup, strain out that kombu, and now this is your Sushi-Zu, which will make your sushi rice taste insanely good. I also would like to mention that this Sushi-Zu recipe is not mine. It's actually Joshua Weissman's, so I just want to give credit where credit's due. Back to our rice. It is now fully cooked, and I am way too excited about it. I'm gonna grab a medium-sized bowl and then toss all the rice in there. And yes, that is some steaming hot rice, if I do say so myself. I'm going to now grab our Sushi-Zu, and I'm gonna pour it in the rice in batches, making sure to mix it thoroughly. You don't have to use all the Sushi-Zu, but I tend to use like 90% of it, and your sushi rice might look a little soggy and wet. Don't worry, the rice will slowly begin to absorb the rest of that liquid, so even if it looks like a swampy mess, just trust the process and it'll start to dry out. Give it a little taste as you go, and I promise you, you're gonna be very surprised at how delicious this rice is. Back to our fish. It's been dry brining in the fridge for about like 45 minutes. If I smell it, the fishiness has actually reduced significantly. It smells phenomenal to me. Now I'm gonna wash off some of the excess salt and sugar by using a bowl bowl with some water, and I'm gonna clean out the bowl in between cleaning each fish. You can just wash the fish in your sink, but it tends to splatter a lot of water everywhere, and I didn't want any fish particles getting all over my counter. But if you're like me and you ended up dropping your fish in the sink while you're demonstrating it, well then you're gonna have to clean it in the sink once more. Not that big of a deal. Now with a paper towel, I'm gonna dry off our fish and wipe off any excess moisture from them. And now it's time to cut them into sashimi. Now with my knife, I'm gonna split the salmon in half, separating the top loin from the mid loin / lower belly. I'm also gonna clean up any excess little fatty pockets, and then I'm gonna slice it into nice sashimi. Take your time with it, and you wanna slice it at a little bit of an angle, so that way it gives you a longer, wider piece. I'll admit this requires a little bit of precision, but it's not that hard so long as you have a sharp knife. Plus, any pieces that aren't pretty are now a perfect little sushi snack you can eat. Fire. Phenomenal. So good. Now for our tuna, we're gonna cut it a little similarly, but we're gonna first split it in half. One piece is gonna be for sashimi and the other piece is gonna be for cubes. Since this piece is so thick, it's a little easier to get sashimi pieces out of it. I'm just gonna cut it straight down, though you can cut it at an angle as well if you want. Now for the other piece, I'm gonna cut it into thicker planks because we're gonna be chopping it into cubes, but please take your time with it and don't accidentally stab your finger. I stabbed myself. What the heck? How'd I do that? Okay, we're good. I didn't breach any skin. No blood. I'm gonna then cut those planks in half and then dice it into small little bite-sized cubes. And again, any ugly little pieces are perfect as a light little snack. Ooh, that's really good. Oh, dang. Holy cow. Now this is all the sashimi we got from the salmon, and this is all the sashimi we got from the tuna. Now I'll admit, I'm not very good at cutting thin pieces of sashimi, but that being said, I still got so much sashimi out of just a pound of tuna and a pound of salmon. And now let me quickly show you how to make nigiri with this. You're gonna need the rice we made, plus the sashimi we sliced, and a small bowl of water. I'm gonna dip my hands in the water to prevent the rice from sticking, and I'm gonna grab a little bit of rice and conform it into the shape of our nigiri. You just wanna lightly press the rice together, and then you wanna grab either your salmon or tuna sashimi, putting it on top of the rice, and then pressing it together once more to conform it around the rice. You should have a nice little piece of nigiri in the end, and this is 100% very technique based, so your first attempt may not be that good. Take your time with it, and you should notice yourself improving with every piece you make. Once you're done, you should have a plate full of both salmon and tuna nigiri, and I actually filled up this whole plate plus another half plate, and I still had more to make, but my girlfriend wanted some fresh sashimi, so I decided not to make those. Taste wise, I promise you, you will be mind blown at how absolutely delicious this is. I don't know what it is about sushi, but for some reason it just makes me want to dance. But if you want to make something a little less technical than nigiri, well then let me show you how to make an amazing poke bowl. Oh, and if you're liking this video so far, I would greatly appreciate it if you could please hit the like and subscribe button. We are super close to hitting 1,000 followers. Now let's get back to the poke bowl. And I know poke's technically not considered sushi, but we're still making it. Now we're first going to grab a small bowl and toss in our sushi rice from our nigiri, and we're going to now throw in some green edamame beans, which I just blanched some frozen edamame beans in some boiling water for 2 minutes. You can use a microwave as well, but blanching and draining off the water preserves that color and gives it a nice little crispy bite. Next, we're going to throw down some fresh mango, which I, for some reason, cut this like a giant dum-dum. I started by somehow managing to cut a good chunk of the seed off with just my knife and minimal effort. Holy cow, my knife is sharp. What on earth? I did not expect that to cut. But then I decided to try to cut it like an avocado, and I ended up cutting my finger with my knife, so maybe just use pre-cut mango or watch someone else's YouTube video. Either or, we're gonna now throw down some julienne carrots, which I julienned with the julienne peeler, and I just cut them down to smaller pieces, and we're gonna throw down some pickled red onions, which to pickle, we're gonna cut a red onion from root to stem into nice little long strands. We're then gonna pour 1 cup of distilled white vinegar in a saucepan, followed by 1 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Bring it up to high heat, and then once it's reached a boil, we're gonna pour it over our sliced onions, and then we're gonna let it cool down fully to room temperature. If it doesn't fill up all the way to the top, by the way, you can just pour a little bit more distilled white vinegar. After that, we're gonna lay down some of our tuna, which to prep, I just put it in a small container and poured in about a little less than a tablespoon's worth of soy sauce, making sure to mix it to get it fully coated and seasoned all that tuna. And lastly, I'm gonna pour a little bit of spicy mayo over on top of it, which to make in a small container, we're gonna squeeze 1/3 of a cup of Kewpie mayo, 1 tablespoon of sriracha, about half a tablespoon of chili crisp, 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, and then give it a mix. And I'm also gonna pour in about 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. This is your insanely delicious spicy mayo that'll really bring this poke bowl all together. Speaking of our poke bowl, here it is. It's got everything you would want in a nice poke bowl. It's super flavorful, insanely delicious, and it's guaranteed to bring a smile to you from ear to ear. That sounds so corny. I don't know why I said that. Now, what makes a fish safe to eat raw? Well, I first want to say that the term sushi grade is not actually a thing. It is purely a marketing tactic to make you buy more expensive fish. There is no organization that monitors if a fish is sushi grade or not. You should instead be considering these 3 things. First, you want to buy a really good quality fish. If I know I'm going to be eating the fish raw, I tend to shop at a more expensive grocery store for a higher quality piece of fish. And I want the condition of that fish to be good as well, so no bruises or tears on the flesh. The second thing I do when picking raw fish is I give it a smell to see how fishy it is. It's totally okay if it smells a little fishy, or even if it smells really fishy, if I'm being honest, but if you can, try to pick a piece that does not have a very fishy smell. This will affect the flavor of your fish, and overly smelly fish can be corrected by giving it a salt cure. It removes some of the smell of it. But the most important factor when picking fish for raw consumption is if that fish has been frozen. It may sound weird because we all want super fresh fish, but when fish are typically caught and sold at most grocery stores, they undergo a process that's called flash freezing, which essentially freezes the fish, locking in all of the freshness and flavor and preserving it from the moment it was caught. The other thing flash freezing does, which is also most important for me and you, is that it kills any parasites that could have been in the fish. This is the single most important factor for me when I pick out a fish, and the good news for you is that most commercially sold fish at grocery stores is flash frozen. So the vast majority of fish is technically considered sushi grade, but you just gotta make sure you're picking a good piece. Now, I do also wanna mention that there is always a risk when consuming raw food of any kind. So understand if you follow all these steps, it'll reduce the chances of any issues coming from eating raw fish, but there's always a slight chance that there could be an issue. But for me personally, I've eaten raw fish at home for years now, and I've never had an issue once. Now, if you wanna cook your fish, but you don't know how to, well then check out my branzino recipe right here. I promise it won't disappoint. Thank you so much for watching, and please hit the like and subscribe button.